Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream on Twitch weekdays from 5 PM Pacific time in the US, 10 AM in Australia and 1 AM in the UK. We are working on an Art Deco building. We're doing an exterior and interior building that we're going to be creating in Unreal Engine 4.15.1. It was a building I created back in 2011 using UDK. We are updating the assets for it in Max. This is the actual Art Deco building we're going to be working on, or we are working on. We haven't touched the building part yet. We're still working on the assets. And what I've done is I've just lined up all of my assets here in a row that for the interior of the building. And as we work on them and bring them into Unreal, I move the assets into the background here so we know we've done them. So the ones at the front we still have to do, the ones at the back we've already done. So, beginning of the week we were working on these railing sections for inside the building. Now we're going to be working, yesterday actually we were working on this stairwell. We did some of the curtains and things yesterday and now we're doing this stairwell. And we had brought it into Substance Painter to do some texturing work. We did the texturing work on the railing section here yesterday and we were working on this main stair part yesterday as well. We're going to continue doing that. But I was looking at our project as we were working on it yesterday. I'm just going to open it up. It's the main stairs here. This side paneling here is just looking a little plain, I think. I want to add a bit more interest. And remember I said when we were working on these assets that I wanted to update them a little bit as we brought them into the new engine, because we can afford to make them a bit higher poly and add a bit more interest to them. And I think the side here is a good example of an area that we could improve on. While that texturing is okay, that texture is alright. It just, the actual paneling itself looks really boring. So what we're going to do is I'm going to export this base texture that we have, that we were working on yesterday. So I'm going to export textures. I'm going to make sure I choose the path for my stairs here. We want work, we want UE4 projects, models, Art Deco building, exports, and it's the main stair, I think we called it. Main stairway, okay, we'll use that folder. We haven't done anything to the white marbling yet. I want to leave that for the moment. We're going to concentrate just on the paneling here on the side of the stairwell. So we'll do an export. Okay, let's jump back into Max now. And let's isolate that stairwell so we can get rid of the other meshes and just concentrate on what we're working on. Alright, let's frame up our views here. Now I just want to, we're in the left view. I'm just going to go orthographic here and make sure I'm looking at the right side, and I am. So we'll go back into our left view. Let's do something a bit more interesting with this stairwell. Before we do that though, let's put that texture we just exported on. At least just the bitmap color textured version, not the normal map or any of that. We'll do that when we bring it into Unreal. So I'm just going to jump into that folder we were just exporting to, main stairway, and we want main steps plain wood, that's the one. We'll pipe that into our diffuse channel. Make sure we turn on show shaded and show realistic so we can see it in the max viewport. And before we assign it, I'm just going to, I've done it again. I don't want to, I always move my viewport when I'm in my set left, right, front. I'm going to go back into my orthographic just really quickly here. select that bottom part of the stairwell, the actual paneling. I'm just going to detach it. Not as a clone, I want it as a separate object. I'm going to call it main stair panel. Okay. I'm not going to hide the top steps because I want to see where they are, so I can, when I'm doing my modeling here, I have it for a reference object. But now that we've detached that, let's assign that texture we just painted up in Substance. So I'm going to assign it to the material to the object. Alright, let's jump back into our left viewport. And let's start adding a little bit more detail to this paneling, I think. So we're going to start by jumping into my Objects tab here, and I'm going to create a box. I'm just trying to work out the best way to do this. We'll start by creating a box. I'm going to make it about the same size as that panel. I'm going to jump into my top viewport here and make sure everything is lined up correctly. And work out how high I want that to be. We might bring it in just a little bit, just a little bit too high, I think. So we're going to pull it back, maybe about there, I think. And we're just going to pull it in a bit until it just intersects with that wooden paneling. So it's basically just touching it. Where are we? There we are. Okay, let's jump back into our left viewport. Now, I'm going to turn on edged faces here. And I'm going to start working with my length and width segments. I think I want three length segments and probably 3 width segments. That should work. I'm going to, instead of converting my box to an edit poly, I could right click and go convert to edit poly. I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to throw down an edit poly modifier. That way, if I make any changes I don't like, I can just delete that modifier and come back to my original object. I'm going to go into edge mode. We're going to loop our edge and I'm going to pull it up. We'll do the same thing with the bottom one. We'll loop that and we're going to pull it down. And we're doing the same here with the other two. We're going to loop them and pull one over. And we'll loop this one and pull it over. About there, I think. I'm looking down here. I'm not looking up here. Alright, now let's go out of edge mode. I'm going to go into poly mode here and I'm going to select the poly in the middle and delete it, and also the one on the back side and delete that. It's going to go into vertex mode here as well. I'm going to pull this in. Maybe to about there. Yep. Alright. Now I'm going to grab these edges here and I'm going to pull them down. Just like that. Okay, we can go out of edge mode now. Do remember, guys, if you have any questions for me or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If I can help, I'm happy to try. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's always welcome. If you just want to watch, that's completely fine. Let's just jump back into our orthographic here now. Okay. Now we have an open edge here. You see through here? That's because we deleted those inner polygons. I don't want that one. I think what I'll do here... I might just go into wireframe. No, that's not really going to help me. We'll go back to constant colors. I'm going to select these two edges that have an open polygon here. And I'm just going to bridge them just to close that up. And now I think we're probably going to have the same issue down here at the bottom. So again, I'm going to select those two edges. And we're going to bridge those. And we'll have the same issue here at the back, I think. Yep. So again, we're going to select the two inside edges. And I'm going to bridge them. So that's just filled in our border here a little bit better. Okay, let's go back into edge mode here and select these outer edges here along the bottom. And I'm going to jump into my modified tab. Did I put it here as a quick selection? No, I did. I'm going to add a chamfer modifier with 3 segments. It's going to pull back a little bit on the tension. Maybe pull back a bit on the roundness as well. If I can get in here to show you what I'm doing. Just my mouse is a bit fiddly. Max can be a bit fiddly sometimes with its viewport. I'm just softening up those edges here on the inside edges. That's just a shading artifact in Max, don't worry about that. So I'm just softening up those inside edges. I'm not going to soften up the outside edges because it touches the floor here and it touches a wall here and the top touches the top of the step. So you're just going to be adding poly detail, increasing your poly count for no reason but to soften up the outer edges there or along the bottom. Okay, and that's just created a border around our object, around our stairwell. I'm not going to be colouring it at this stage either. I'm just going to leave it as that purpley colour, and we'll take it into substance to do our texturing in when we're finished doing the detailing. So I'm going to collapse my stack now. Let's jump back into our left viewport and let's have a look at this now. Let's go into my creation tab, and I'm just going to create another box, maybe like that. About that wide, I think. Again, we're going to position it in our top viewport. So it's going to pull back here a bit to find it. There it is. And again, I'm going to just pull back on the height a little bit. We'll pull it in. Again, I'm going to position it here in my orthographic so I can see how far in I want to pull it. About there, I think. Okay. I'm just going to hold down the shift key and shift drag a copy out. We'll select those two and I'm going to shift drag copies again. We'll select those 4 and I'm going to shift drag copies again. And shift drag one more time. I can remove this one here on the end. Alright. Now I'm just going to pull back on the height of this one a little bit. I'm just going to undo that quickly. Actually, doing an edit poly and moving the verts is probably going to be quicker and easier, I think. I'm just going to pull them back. I'm doing this so that the tops of our wood here don't poke through our stairs. Again, an edit poly, go into vertex mode, and I'm just going to pull them down. Edit poly, vertex, and pull them down. Oh, wrong one. And again, I'm just doing this so they don't poke through the top of the steps there. I could do it another way. I don't necessarily have to do it via an edit poly like this. I could change the underlying box itself. You see here that it's a box. I could change the length here and make them shorter that way. But because the axis is in the center here, it's going to reduce from the middle. Now, if you wanted to do it that way, you can go in your hierarchy tab and you effect pivot, and you can move the pivot down to the base. And now when you do your length, it'll only, oh, it's actually still doing it. All right, why are you doing that? Oh, it can't be done that way. That's strange. You should be able to actually, once you move your axes, it should only alter it from the top to the bottom. Maybe because it's still a box object. Either way, we'll do it with an edit poly because it's just as easy. Then we'll move on to the next one, edit poly. These ones I think I will reduce the size on them and pull them down. Wrong one. Oh. I hit the height instead of the width instead of the height, so I'm just going to copy that value back again so it's the same. And go into my length here, which is the one I actually wanted. Again, I'm going to pull these ones down to around the center so I can adjust them with the length value. One at the end is a really short little one, so this one as well, we'll just move it down. I just want to make sure that they don't stick through the top of the step. Okay. Let's grab another one here and I'm going to shift drag a copy out. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, make sure my angle snap is turned on. We'll start at the bottom here, I think. I'm going to increase my length, move it around to the center. And make it about there, I think. Might pull back a bit on the length. Pull back a little bit more. Maybe make it a little bit longer. There we go. Now I'm going to shift drag another copy up. We'll do the same thing. I'm just going to adjust the length here so it fits within that rectangle, within that triangle. And we'll shift drag one more, I think, for the top here. We'll pull back on the length. Alright, now I'm just going to adjust these so that these three fit within that space that we've created. I'll take this one up a little bit more. I think you need to go up a little bit higher. You need to go up just a little bit higher. Alright. Let's just exit that and go back into our orthographic. Okay, so now we have some paneling sections created, but let's create a bit more interest in these panel sections. And what I've done is I have found a few reference images, and it's always good to work just from a reference if you want to make sure you get something looking correct. UE4 projects, models, reference. Now I've found some Art Deco images here that I want to look at to decide on which one I want to use. I don't want anything too busy because there's going to be a lot of them on that in that paneling, so going for something like this will be a bit too detailed for what we want. Something like that is probably better. Even though of the 4 images, this one here is probably my favorite, but again, that's going to be a little bit probably too busy for what we need. And this one as well, if I was to use this, I would just use those that section through here, not the rest of it down here. But I quite like that. That's a simple decorative corner piece that could work well for what we want. Although I really do like that that deco design with the sun. It's used quite a bit in Art Deco. You'll see this sun's type symbol. And Deco is all geometric shapes, so you're trying to avoid the swirls and things as much as you can with an Art Deco building. I do like that though. Let's create this. It's not a difficult piece to create. We'll create it, see if we can use it, but I'll probably end up using just that corner piece here. So let's jump back into Max. I'm just going to save this file because I want to work on with a clean slate here. So I'm going to save our project. I'm just looking at the actual geometry to see if that design will fit in actually. It may. Let's create a new project though, because we've saved this work we've just been doing. And for these type of decorative pieces, I always prefer to work with a clean project. Now I'm going to open up my material editor. It still recognizes a material smurl project, that's not a problem though. I'm going to pull in the texture for one of those designs. We'll start with this one. 6 by 299. Pop it into diffuse, turn on show shaded and show realistic. Let's create a plane. I'll do it in the top viewport. You can actually, in Max, you can add an image as a background, but I prefer to work this way. I'm going to select that plane we just created, and I'm going to make it 299 by 6. And I'm going to assign that material to that plane. Now, why did I make it 299 by 6? Because that image is 299 pixels by 600 pixels. Okay, let's jump into our top viewport here. I think the easiest way to do this is we'll start by creating a cylinder here. I'm just going to up the sides to 24 just to make it a little bit rounder. And I'm also just going into my orthographic here to check on my height values. We can always adjust the height with the scale later. Okay. I'm just going to go into throw down and edit poly. I'm going to do a quick slice, and I'm going to slice it through here. Go into poly mode, and I'm just going to select the polygons from the bottom and delete them. We have this open edge now though. Just a couple here I forgot to delete by the look of it. We have an open edge, so let's go into edge mode. And I'm just going to cap that end. Just so we don't get any light leakage within that model piece. Alright, let's jump back into our create tab, and I'm going to go into my shapes command. I'm going to go and use the line command, I think, and I'm going to draw out a line to follow the underlying geometry here. Yes, we want to close the spline. I'll go back into my modified tab, and I'm going to use an extrude. Again, I'm just jumping back into my orthographic so I can see how far I want to extrude it. About there, I think. Alright, now let's reuse this around the outside. So again, shift drag a copy, not an instance. We'll rotate it. I may have to turn angle snap off here, we'll see. That's angle snap there. Yeah, I'll need to turn it off. So we can get the rotation correct for our piece underneath. I'm going to throw down, and just before I make fine adjustments here to these pieces, I'm going to shift drag another copy and use my mirror tool here to mirror it in the opposite direction. Alright, now I'm just going to shift drag another copy down towards the bottom. We'll do our rotation. And shift drag one more copy and again do the mirror. And we'll drag it over there. Alright, now let's make our fine adjustments here. So let's start with this one over here, throw down an edit poly. We'll go into vertex mode. And I'm just going to move these verts up. Okay. We'll do the same thing on this one over here, edit poly and in vertex mode. Alright, let's work on these ones down the bottom. And this one over here. Alright, now I'm going to use the quick slice tool here and I'm going to cut that through here. It did not cut for me. Why is that? Quick slice. No matter, we'll do it this way. I'm going to select these verts here at the bottom. I'm going to scale them down just in the Y direction and pull them up. We'll do the same with this one over here. Select these two vertices at the bottom and scale them in the Y direction. And we'll pull them up. Alright. Now let's look at these triangles here in the background. Actually, let's start with the square in the background. Instead of me creating these smaller pieces, an easier way to do this is going to be to go into my creation tab, back into my shapes. Go with the box and we'll start with the box shape. We'll start down here. Again, I'm going to jump back into my orthographic. I do this so I can work out how high I want this. I'm also going to go into shaded mode so I can see my polys a bit better. Okay, pull them up just a bit. Until I don't want them over the top of the triangular pieces, I want them just underneath. So probably about there. I'm just going to I'm just going to move that out of the way just for a moment so I can get the shape of this one and correct. Because this actually sits above the rectangle in the background. So, and I think the easiest way to create that will be to go back into our splines mode and use the line tool. Jump back into our modify and throw down an extrude. And we're going to pull it back, but again back into orthographic so I can judge this better. Okay. And now let's pull this rectangle back. We may just pull back on the height of that rectangle a little bit as well. Just to make sure it doesn't go above that triangle we just created. All right. Now, let's move our original reference image here out of the way. I can see my triangle, my rectangle here needs to come down a bit higher, so I'm going to throw down an edit poly, and I'm just going to move those verts down behind the sun. Alright, now we could use this as a texture map for our piece here. I'm just trying to decide whether that as a texture map will be better, or if we should take perhaps this into Substance Painter and texture it up that way in Painter. The first thing we have to do anyway is we have to attach all these pieces together. So I'm going to start with the sun. I'm just going to use my attach tool and just start attaching all of these different pieces together. It's done that just because it's inherited the material from the first object. It's difficult to see, but if we look in our orthographic here, you can still see that they're all separate pieces. They're just the same color. All right, let's try applying this texture to it, and we'll see what that will look, whether we can use that in the original model. So again, I'm going to assign that material to that object. I'm going to throw down an unwrap UVW. We will open our UV editor. I'm going to select that texture in the background. We're going to do a normal mapping. Well, that's not the one we want. I think it's a front to back mapping we want, or top to bottom. No. Left to right? No. We should be able to do it. No. Why are you doing this? In fact, what I'm going to do here is just remove that unwrap UVW, use a UWB map, just a planar map. Unfortunately, I don't have access to all of these mapping tools within the unwrap, UVW and Max. It really only has box mapping and then flatten mapping and pelt mapping. I don't have planar, cylindrical, spherical. So I'm just going to start by throwing down a planar UVW map. And now I'm going to make some adjustments. So I'm going to play with the length and the width here. Until these line up. I'm also going to open up the gizmo and just move the gizmo as well. That just moves the position of the texture map here in the file, on the object I should say. Okay, let's just jump into our orthographic here. Okay, let's collapse our stack.